Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Clay's Couch. I'm your host, Clay D, the one and only, coming at you the best way that I know how. And I'm happy tonight to be joined by another special guest. Tonight, I have the pleasure of welcoming here wonderful Miss Charletta joining us this evening here on the virtual couch. Miss Charletta Denise, thank you for joining the couch tonight, Charletta.
Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. So Miss Charlotta, how have you been lately? How's everything going on your end?
Life has definitely been lifing, but all is well. I choose to be well. How's
That's good.
everything your way?
Everything same as you. This life is life. We're both in agreement there. But you have quite a bit going on your own self. So just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, if you're able to.
Sure. As you stated before, my name is Charlotta Denise. I am the CEO founder of Cover My Sisters. I'm the author of No Makeup, Unveiling the Woman Behind the Mask, as well as my new book, Married, Fallen, Single. I'm a mom of 7 amazing children. I have 4 boys and 3 girls whom I love. Oh my God, those are my babies. I love them so, so much. Um, I, let's see, I'm a business owner. I I live my life every day like it's the last. I enjoy life. I enjoy people, obstacles and all. I kind of smile through life, smile through it all. So yeah, I'm a dope person. I love me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful for sure. But did I hear that correctly? You said you have 7 kids. Is that right?
I sure do. My oldest
Oh,
is 15, Jaden, and then I have a baby girl. She's 5. Her name is Skylar. So all the ages in between, in
that's
between that,
wonderful.
I have them.
That's wonderful. And I certainly commend you because I'm sure that's a huge task or tall order, but I'm sure it's also very rewarding as well. More
I mean, it is.
than ever.
I say I never, definitely, I never prayed or asked God to, oh my God, please let me be a mom of 7 by myself. That was never nothing that I chose to do. I believe sometimes in life we have to understand that it's not about, getting dealt a bad hand in life. It's the ability to play a bad hand well. So through it all, being the mom of 7, and I have to bring joy in and make joy through it. It's not easy. I wouldn't dare be like, oh my God, it's the best thing to ever happen. It can be very trying, but we press through it every day. We'll get into why I'm a single mom now of 7, but I just want to throw that out there real quick.
Sure, sure, definitely. Well, now, Charlotta, as far as businesses and all, what type of business do you own and operate? You mentioned it in the intro, but if you could just kind of just tell the audience what type of business do you own and how many do you own and operate at this time?
So I have a boutique. It's called Charlotte's Boutique. So that says it for itself. It's fashion, clothes. I love fashion. I love clothes. I love dressing. I love styling my children. I love styling other people. So I think it's always good to, if you're going to open up anything, it's always good to open up what you're good at. And so I do that. It will be launching as far as like the plus size children and men in March next month. Well, a few more days. Um, I also, well, my nonprofit, Cover My Sisters, that is a nonprofit organization, of course. But so that is the business that I run as of right
Gotcha,
now, one of them.
gotcha. And how long have you been running and operating each of them separately or
Well,
individually?
the actual boutique is started 2021. Um, I do have a t-shirt line. It's called Tees for Me. So I make shirts.
Okay,
I've been doing that since about 2016. I make spiritual shirts. So it'll have like
right.
a quote, a scripture. It'll some type of cute saying, but it follows behind a scripture. So yeah.
Okay, okay. That's neat to hear for sure. And what's the inspiration behind each of those businesses, projects, and the nonprofit? Or what's the inspiration? If you can kind of give a backstory and inspiration on each of them.
As far as the boutique, I love, like I said, I love fashion. I love style. I love to mix patterns. I always say it doesn't. One of my cousins, she picks on me. She said it doesn't match. It just look good together. So I love fashion. I love to dress my children up, and um, that's the love that I have before it. I think in anything and things that I go through, one of my biggest things as far as like mental health is to get up and to get dressed and to put your look your best wherever you go. So I do that, and I decided to why not open up a business so other people can feel amazing, other people can feel great. Even if you can't do it yourself, I'm able to style you for you, so you can look your best. Cover My Sisters, of course, came from a broken place that was established October 2015. I just love to share my story. I love to help other women, to uplift women. And so that's really kind of the inspiration behind that, that you can either, I guess I'll say you can either use your pain for your platform or you can use it for prison. And so I choose to use it as my platform. So that's the inspiration behind Cover My Sisters.
That's great to hear. Now, in doing my initial research on you, when I was sourcing you as a potential guest, I saw that you have a couple books on your end. Tell us what are your books about, especially your latest one?
Sure. My first book is called No Makeup: Unveiling the Woman Behind the Mask. So it is not about applying foundation. No
Right.
makeup. I take my makeup off. I take my mask off, and I share my story from childhood. I talk about generational curses, soul ties, daddy issues, mommy issues. Basically, what made me who I am. I think our childhood kind of molds us to be what we're going to be as we grow up, and why she's so angry, or why she's so mean, why does she carry herself the way that she do, why she act the way that she do. So I put it in a book and I wrote about it, and I talk about why Charlotta kind of responds the way that she do, why she moved the way that she moved. It's because of the things that I've been through in life. So I wrote a book about that in 2020. I released it in 2020. 2021, I released my second book, which is Married, Filing, Single. And I talk about my marriage per se. I was married for 10 years. My husband had PTSD, TBI. I had PTSD. We both went into the marriage very broken. I looked for my identity through him. And so once he didn't give it to me, I lost identity. I didn't know who I was. And I was trying to kind of stay alert and stay in the loop of living a life in betrayal, of not really just living just to be here. I fronted, I lied. I would say I put us up to be like this beautiful family on social media. And I started to live my life through social media that I forgot that I was really in a broken marriage. I was really in a miserable marriage. My ex-husband was, he was very abusive, mentally, physically, emotionally. So I share all of that, which I will be doing a live video so you can actually hear the story behind the story in that book next month. And now I'm working on my third book, and that's called Stained, STAINED. And with that, it basically talks about the people, the generations in front of you who stained you, who touched you, whatever, what was passed down to you, what touched you, what violated you, not violation per se, but violated as far as what demons are you dealing with that you don't really know anything about, who stained you. So that's what I'm writing about right now.
Wow, that's certainly a story there. I'm definitely would recommend that everyone read the books. I certainly will take the time to read it myself in full when I'm able to, for sure. And you certainly do have a story for sure to tell. And just overall, would you just say that the influence and inspiration behind your book is to motivate, inform, inspire, and educate others?
Other women, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, mainly. I think everything we go through in life is for someone else. The Bible tells us that we are overcome by our testimony. So if we share our stories, then we are able to be a blessing and to help other people. If we hide it and keep it to ourselves, nobody gets free. Nobody gets healed. So everything I go through, or especially some of the detrimental things, I think it's important to share the goodness of the Lord and the things that he has done for me, to show another woman that, yeah, you can raise 7 children or 4 children or however many kids by yourself and still be self-funded and not state funded. So I think that is very important to share. I will forever always share. I get knocked down, kicked down every time I release my story. You know, I go through another trial, I go through another storm. But I still think it's important. I know that God has me here for that reason. So I have to use it, and I have to share my story.
Wow, absolutely, for sure. Now, when it came to your first book, or just when you became overall an author, what was it that made you? And you just provided the reasons and the inspiration, the influence behind writing these books. What was it that made you want to use books as a medium to get your message and your stories out, as opposed to just telling people, just casually, friends or family, or in any other type of group, in church or any other social circle or family circle? What was it specifically about a published
I
book?
think it wasn't necessarily supposed to reach, family. Was supposed to reach the nation. I believe that the Lord he put it in my heart. We all have at least one story in us. We all have a book to share. We all have a story to tell. So I think it's important to share it. I started writing. I've been a writer. I've always loved to write, and some things that was my way of healing instead of knocking somebody completely out. The best thing for me to do was to just start writing. And sometimes I would be writing so hard, I was ripping the paper, but I was trying to calm down through whatever may have been dealing with in that season. And so I started writing, and I wanted to write a book. I wanted to share my story. I wanted to tell my story. And so before I knew it, I had published my first book, No Makeup. And and I didn't even know, like, even with Married, Fallen Single, when I was writing that book, I had no idea that I was technically going to be writing my story. I knew that the Lord had given that name, Married, Fallen Single, a couple of years prior, but I did not know it was going to be my life, my story, my pain, the things that I went through in my marriage. We always say you have to you hold on to the potential of someone that may not be so good after all. I believe I held on to the potential and almost lost my mind. Sometimes when you choose to hold on to the potential of someone or the potential of your mate, you have to go through whatever it is that they got to go through. You have to go through it with them. They may or may not come out. They may or may not want to change. I think one of the things that I talk about in Married, Fallen Single is you have to know how to be a woman before you can be a wife. If you don't know how to be a woman, how are you going to be a wife? And sometimes a lot of us women, including myself, we are so eager and so ready to be married and to get married, but we really don't know what that entails or what that looks like. We just want the wedding, and we just want that dream that we had as a little girl of, walking down the aisle. But it's more than that. Marriage is a beautiful thing. I won't never, ever say it, but I do believe that singleness is just as important. And I didn't know how to be single. I didn't want to be single. So a lot of that pain, I took on the complete ownership of, Charlotta, what part did you play in it? What role did you play in it? As far as Married, Fallen Single, I knew that I came into the marriage as well as dysfunction. I wasn't going to blame and put the whole blame on my ex when I knew that I was bleeding too. It was like the blind leading the blind. He was blind, I was blind, and we was getting ready to have a whole bunch of blind kids. And at the end of the day, I had to, it took a lot to choose me. Us as women, sometimes we just say stuff because it just sounds good, but we really don't we haven't really walked it out. I was saying I'm gonna choose me, but I didn't know what choosing me even looked like. I didn't even know how to choose me. So I had to go through a lot. You just got to read the book. You just got to read the book and see, like, wow, I wish I knew a lot of the things that I knew now. With the wisdom that I have, I wish that I had it then, before I had to share this story, or before I had to write this book.
Right. Well, certainly thank you for sharing that bit. And I have a lot more questions and things to uncover after the break, right here on Clay's Couch with our special guest, Charlotta Denise. Welcome back to Clay's Couch here. This is your host, Clay D, the one and only, coming at you the best way that I know how. And I am continuing the conversation here with the wonderful Miss Charlotta Denise, who's an author and entrepreneur and motivational speaker. And thank you again for joining us here, Charlotta, to share us your story and your journey and everything else.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Now, just to pick up from the conversation prior to the break, I would like to ask, just in general, where are you from originally? Have you always lived in North Carolina?
Yes, I have been in North Carolina all my life. I will be relocating to Texas, Houston, Texas. The goal is June, but we'll see. So, me and my family, we are moving.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, we certainly wish you luck on that move as well to the Texas
Thank
for
you.
sure. Yep.
Yes.
And so, with that being said, obviously you're making that trek and that journey over there. What are your goals from what you're willing to share in moving over to a new destination? And what are you hoping that at the very least that the new destination can provide to you, just spiritually, mentally, mostly entrepreneurial, any of those aspects? Would you hope to see in that new destination? Because obviously from what you mentioned that you've been in North Carolina your whole life. I have lived in North Carolina myself for 15 years on and off now. Originally from New Jersey, New York, and lived in California, Florida, a bunch of other places as well in between. And I have even, just as for myself, was just thinking of, well, can I uproot right now? What would I do to benefit me and my life and my situation? So I'm just asking that just to relate to you and even to relate to the audience, that just given from what you told me that you hope to accomplish once you get over to Texas and Houston and all.
Yeah, so I can tell you. All I know is that the Lord had gave it. He told me a couple of months ago that actually right after my grandmother passed away, and God knows I think she was my that's been a triumph within itself. But right after she passed away, I went on a consecration. I just needed to fast. I needed to kind of go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how am I supposed to live this life without my person. She was definitely my person. And so through a lot of prayer and fasting, he told me that he was going to ship me out of North Carolina. So I was like, okay, probably Atlanta. My sister's in Atlanta, so I'll probably go there. You could do business, networking, and I could pretty much be okay. And so I was getting ready to start preparing for Atlanta. Being that I
Right.
have such a big family, I can't just uproot and just pack up and go. I have to break everything down. It has to make
Yeah.
sense, and it has to make sense to me. And so I reached out to my mentor, talked to one of my pastors, and so we all just started praying. And then I believe the Lord told me that he was sending me to Houston, Texas. So I'm like, okay, well, God, what am I supposed to, what am I going to be doing there? I know no one in
Mm.
Houston, Texas. So nobody. So then I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I started researching real estate, to do real estate so I could so it could fall under Cover My Sisters. And so he had me to look up real estate in Houston versus North Carolina. So that's kind of what that's the only thing I can tell you what the Lord has did for me
Sure.
right now. I know that Cover My Sisters are definitely will be there.
That's
Um,
good.
I will still be doing everything that I'm doing now,
Yep.
network purposes. I can speak to anybody. I know how to live. I used to say I know how to survive, but I know how to survive and live now. So I'm excited. I'm going to go and just fly out in a couple of weeks,
That's
just
good.
to see how I feel, to start preparing. Um, Everything is just spiritually led right now. I'm just trying to be obedient. Obedient is better than sacrifice. And sometimes we have to step out even when we don't know, or it doesn't make sense to us, or we don't understand. We just have to do what the Lord has told us to do, knowing that if he said it, he has already made provision for it. So I am just walking by faith right now.
Definitely, you have to walk by faith and not by sight. I could just certainly just say, just from my own testimony, that sometimes you just have to walk. You just
Yeah.
have to take the faith, and just even if you're Do it even if you have to do it scared.
Yeah,
I love that
absolutely. Majority
story.
of the time you have to do it scared. I tell people all the time, listen, you would rather go and know versus never go and you never know. You never know what it could have been on the other side if you don't try it. You can at least try it. If you fail, what other thing can you do besides just go back home?
Exactly.
But I don't want to live my life, and I don't live my life that way. And I tell my children the same thing. You have to try it. If it doesn't work, at least you tried it. And then it may work, so you don't know until you try it. So I'm going to do it. And I've been
Good.
wrestling with myself, like, are you sure, God? Go
Oh yeah.
send somebody in person
Oh
to
yeah,
tell me.
absolutely. For someone who has moved a whole bunch throughout his life, I can certainly tell you that it's it's not always easy. Obviously, your situation with your family is different than than that of mine, per se. So I'm not
Absolutely.
necessarily trying to compare exactly, but just from at least just wanting to just test faith and just try and put yourself out there because things aren't going to come to you. You have to
Absolutely.
you have to make your own you have to make your own destiny sometimes, and sometimes you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So
Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
definitely I definitely commend you on all that, Charlotta. But
Thank
the
you.
good I would say the good thing is you did mention that hey, you can always come back in theory, and that's absolutely true. Because given that the world is a little more universal now and omnipresent and virtual, you could still do public speaking and all of that, and everything else, like what you're doing with me right now. And just given that, with the public speaking aspect, how long have you been doing the public speaking aspect and such? Has this been concurrent with the, the book writing and publishing and all, or if it's something that's rather fairly new that you've been doing?
Um, I would say I think I've been speaking since like 2015. Me and my ex, me and my ex-husband, we used to do we used to have to speak at different marriage retreats or different things. He and I would speak together. And then once I birthed Cover My Sisters, I kind of started speaking. I would get different appointments to speak at different places, whether it be a church or some type of women conference or a brunch. And then once I released my first book, I started doing different, more speaking engagements as well.
Okay, gotcha. Now, with that being said, is you plan on continuing to do the public speaking? I mean, obviously, I don't think that you would want to stop, but have you found that to be another avenue to get your message out there? That's a good fit for you to do.
Absolutely. Initially, I used to didn't enjoy.
Hmm.
Initially, I didn't enjoy speaking until I had to start doing like bullet points to make sure, because I will try to get. I want to say everything at one time. I wanted to get everything out, and so now I kind of do bullet points. But I enjoy speaking. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy hearing other people's testimony after they've heard my story, or their reach out and how something that I've said maybe moved them, blessed them, or whatever. So I enjoy it now than versus when I used to when I first got started.
Okay, that's certainly good for sure. Now, what would you say your goals are within the next 3 to 5 years, or we can even condense that to 1 to
Oh,
2.
with everything, I have a lot of goals. I have a lot of goals. As far as with Cover My Sisters, I am trying to build a apartment complex for domestic violence women. I am very big on being a on domestic violence because I was a advocate. Not only have I grew up around it, but I experienced it. And so my heart and my love for women that choose to get out but really don't know how, or really don't know. Sometimes you can leave your family and your friends, but they'll tell you to leave, but then they won't help you stay out. So I
Yeah.
want to be able to feel that common ground where you would come under my organization and you would live in an apartment versus a those little shelters. And I hate to say little, but the shelters that they provide for you. I think you have your if you have a male son, of course, or he's certain age, then he has to go to a male facility, and sometimes that makes it harder for women to leave because they don't want to be separated from their children. So you would come under my organization and you would live in an apartment, like a little apartment, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, or whatever, where you can still be able to provide what you need to provide for your children, whether you're cooking. I found it for me. I love to cook. So when I went through what I went through, thankfully I didn't have to go into a shelter because I wasn't going to go. I stayed at my mom's house for 21 days. And then I was able to move us to our own home. But they will come into my organization, they'll live with us, and we will help and provide resources, whether it be to help them get a job, to help them get a trade, to go back to school, whatever it is that they found their love is, that we would be that resource to help provide for them therapy, whatever it is that they need. And then once I finish, initially we would help them move back out, but now I want to do real estate, and then you will be able to our goal is to purchase a home, not no mansion, but be able to purchase a home through the organization as well. Just to keep going, trying to teach them it's okay how to be self-sufficient, how to stand on your own. I know whenever I was in my marriage, I didn't have to work. It wasn't I needed to, but I didn't. I had to stay at home because we had so many children. It would have been easier to stay at home to take care of them versus trying to put them in daycare. I think it was like $4,000 a week if we would have chose to put the little kids in school. So it was cheaper to I had no other choice but to stay at home. So while I was at home, I was creating. I was figuring out what I could do, whether it was my YouTube channel or I started the t-shirt line where you're making t-shirts. But I feel like I needed to do something because my ex-husband wasn't somebody that I could trust. I'm like, if he leave, I need to be able to be okay. And sometimes us women, we put all of our trust, which is good, but we put all of our trust. And if something goes wrong or something happens, we have nothing to fall back on. So I want to be able to help you kind of get back up and not feel like if you are leaving a domestic violence situation that you have to go back because you have no resources or you have nothing to do or you have nowhere to go. I want to be able to help you pick your life back up and start all over. So that's one of the biggest plans for us, for Cover My Sisters. That's a very huge goal for me. I am starting a podcast. It's called Tell Your Story Tuesdays. So on Tuesdays, different women, men, whomever, would just share their story. They'll share their story, whatever story they want to share, to get their story out, to get their message out, to be a blessing to somebody else. So I am working on that. I'm working on a lot of things. I'm working on devotional journals. I have a little devotional book where I've written different scriptures that have kind of helped me through my dark days and my lonely nights. And, I've kind of put them together in different messages and what I've heard God say in that season. I mean, even up here today, just going through what I'm going through right now. It's like sometimes you kind of are your best in your season of brokenness or in a season of being bruised. You're kind of your best self. It took everything in me just today. I'm like, I don't want to do this podcast tonight. I'm just not feeling it. I got so much going on. I'm in a serious season. But I was like, and God was like, no, you're going to go. And you're going to stand up there and I'm going to give you the words to say and we're going to flow. But so I write down different things per season that I'm in, whatever the Lord gives me, whatever scripture he gives me, I write it down and I'm trying to put it in a little devotional so we can publish it and get it out to try to be, to help other people or whatever in their seasons when you can't find a scripture to read or you can't find the words to pray. You can kind of open that up and kind of help you out a little bit.
Definitely, for sure. Well, thank you for all those gems there. So we're going to take another break right here on Clay's Cast. We'll be right back with Charlotte and Denise right here on Clay's Cast. Welcome back to Clay's Couch here. This is your host, Clay D, the one and only, coming at you the best way I know how. And we are picking up on our conversation with the lovely Miss Charlotta Denise here. And she's just sharing us her wonderful story of triumph and inspiration, entrepreneurship, and just her journey and overall. And the fact that she has wonderful product line of books and other types of resources that could benefit women and anyone else out there. Now, just to kind of piggyback off of what you've been elaborating on here, Charlotta, what would you say, is your message for other women out there in similar situations to yours, or even past situations, without even necessarily having to get too far into detail specifically, because I certainly want to maintain integrity. So obviously, people can buy your book or read your book as well. But if you just have just some generic just messages for other women out there who can relate to you from a current situation or in the past, what would that be?
Um, Make sure you like you, like on you, love on you. Um, be okay with who you are. If you want something better, change you, compliment other women, uplift other women, even if you're not or you don't feel uplifted. Speak life, change your words. I tell women that have had situations that I have had, or if they have gone through things that I've gone through, that our makeup, sometimes we just have to take it off and we have to live in our truths. Live in your truth, know your truth, and be okay with your truth. Life is not easy for nobody. Life is out here literally life in for everybody. If you're going through some stuff, your mental is not okay, it's okay to reach out. I think God is a God who sends help. Sometimes we feel like we can just go through things by ourselves, and that's not true. Like, we don't have to. He says two is better than one, meaning if one fall, that it's easier to fall, but it's so much better to have somebody to help you get back up. Because when it's just you, oh my God, talk to people, meet friends. I used to think that, oh no, I don't need nobody, I'm good. No, you do. We all need somebody. We all need people. We all need somebody. So just love on yourself. Make sure that you are whole before you try to go into any relationship. Pay attention to people that just come into your life to take soliciting spirits. I've always say that some people come and just solicit. They can see that you are vulnerable. They see that you've experienced something. You got a chip on your shoulder, and they'll use it for their good. Be very wise and watchful. Singles and married women, just be wise, be watchful, and it's okay to have a self day. Treat yourself, love on yourself. I always like to light a candle, and I'll open up a blind, and I may listen to worship music, or I may get completely quiet. I may get a hotel room for the night, and just me, no kids, don't nobody call me, and I just take time with myself. I love to sit down and have a conversation with me and see where whatever happened. What season was I in? How do I feel about myself? Um, just love yourself. If you can love yourself, it is so much easier to love other people when you can love on yourself first, when you can tell yourself the truth, when you can take ownership and own your own mess, because we all have mess. But when you can own it and be comfortable in who you are and comfortable in your skin, I can keep going on and on. So I'm gonna just stop it. I'm gonna just stop at that point. But I just know what it feels like to be broken. I know what it feels like to just be so lost. And I want people happy and well. Of course I can't save the world, but the ones that I can, I try to. If my story can be a blessing to someone, or if I can show you how I did it, God knows it was not easy, but I always say my kids won't get it out the mud. So I have to work extra hard on keeping my mental sane, keeping my mind sane. I know what it feels like to have lost it. So um, I can just go on and on for days about how if women can just love on themselves and just hold themselves tight, it is so much easier to be connected to other people. Um, I was listening to I had to speak on a podcast not too long ago, and one of the hosts, she was like, yeah, I don't do a whole lot of women. I don't do people. and all of that. And sometimes it's not that you don't know people, it's that you don't know how to interact with people. Maybe you wasn't raised or you wasn't taught to have relationships. Relationships are important. Being able to work with other people is important. Being able to work with other women is important. Being able to work with other men is important. I think we allow our childhood sometimes to just take us. And I know for me, with my childhood issues and the things that I went through in my childhood with my mother and my father, mainly my dad, I had a lot of hate in my heart towards my dad. So I grew up hating men. So nothing no man could say. Oh Lord, I was a mess. Like I was a mess. I'm gonna just say I was a mess. But I didn't like them. But it wasn't that I didn't know how to like them, because I didn't like I didn't care for my father. I didn't like my father that well. So I didn't know how to like men. I didn't know how to get along with females. I knew and gossiped, and I loved drama. I stayed in all of that. And sometimes you're like, why is women so much full of drama? Why did they gossip so bad? Okay, so was your mom a gossiper, or did your mom have a whole lot of drama? It's a lot of things is just passed down. So I always tell people, and I encourage women to take a look, take a sit, take a seat and look at in front of you. What did you have going on in front of you? And then you let it heal from you back, so whatever your generation is, it don't get to them. Whatever happened, it had to stop with you. So I'm big on self-love. I'm big on self-care. All of that.
Wow, that's definitely good. Would you have you gone to, or would you consider or recommend therapy by chance?
I go to therapy. I've been going to therapy since December 2016. I've been going to therapy because I had a lot of issues. I had PTSD from trauma that I saw growing up in my I had that. I had anger issues. I would go from 0 to life in prison really quick.
Oh wow.
Um, I had a nasty, nasty, nasty attitude, slick mouth. You was not. I felt I was always. I've always had to protect me, and I've always had to make sure that Charlotta was okay. So I was always on the fence. I was very defensive. Like every little thing was you was after me. No, nope. It took a long time for me to realize, Charlotte, everybody's not out to get you. But
Right,
I,
right.
I thought that for a long time, because all I knew was I had me. I may not have nobody else, but I'm gonna make sure that I got me. And so you could be trying to say, Charlotte, you probably should do this differently. But in my mind, I was being attacked.
Right. So
I
you
didn't, like I
felt.
said, I didn't trust men, but I definitely went to therapy. I still go to therapy. I think it's
Mhm.
very important to be able to lay on a couch and share or talk or whatever you need to do. It's kind of looked down upon in the Black community. We're so big on you just pray. No, you can pray and go to therapy. You can trust God and still go to therapy. You can go to therapy on Friday and still go to church on Sunday and be
Mm.
okay. That's what he makes. That's the thing when I say he sends help. That is a part of that is a part of life. It's that, yes, I said 0 to life in prison. Yeah, real quick.
That's a new
But
one. I don't like to say 0 to
he
60,
sends
but
people to
yeah.
help. So yeah, it's important. Go to therapy. Go sit on a couch and talk. It was the best thing that happened to me. It actually saved my life. I started to realize that, after I started talking, I was like, oh my God, I'm living my mom's life. And when I realized that, it's like a light bulb popped open. Like, I mean, not even flipped, it just popped. And in that moment is when I started making changes. Like, wait a minute, this life is too familiar. And if I think it was, I had a dream. It was like it was a train, my the train, when a train is getting ready to derail, the first things that start falling off is the people, is what the train is actually pulling. And I was like, God, what does that mean? What does that mean? And it was like, about my life. If you didn't get this together, your husband, but all your 7 of your kids, you would lose them before you lost yourself, before you lost your husband. And that was not a go for me. So in that moment I knew that it was time to make change. But if I never went started therapy, there was a lot of sickness, and there was a lot of that I didn't even know that I was bleeding as bad.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes we get so comfortable with bleeding. I think about the woman with the issue,
Yeah.
and she bled for 12 years. There's no way that she was not uncomfortable. Everywhere she went, there's had to be a spot. Bleeding is you're just bleeding, and you're bleeding on people. And I think sometimes with the wound, you have to apply pressure. But in order to stop the bleeding, is to apply pressure, and that is to go to therapy, or that is to seek the help that you need to get better. You can't just sew it up. You got to allow it to heal. Sometimes some things only heals from the inside out. And I think with mine, I couldn't get stitches. Stitches wouldn't do it. Nothing would do it. I had to heal literally from the inside out. So I had to take all of what I had to take. I had to go to therapy. And I mean, I'll say that it definitely saved my life. So yeah,
Wow.
I encourage therapy.
Now, I'm sure you had them. What are like immediate reservations? Like when, oh, I ain't gonna go to this therapy. Or I was gonna sit there, just gonna waste my time. This gonna take my money. Did that go through your head at all? And like, when did it?
Yes, I felt like I was like, I don't want, and I say this, and I love people now, but I was like, I don't want. When I first went, it was a white woman. I love her, but it was a white lady, and I was like, I sat there and I looked at her, and she was like, can you share? Close your eyes. I said, let me tell you, your life and my life is two different lives. I need somebody. I need somebody to look like me. And that's not always the case. But that's what I said. I was like, I didn't want to I needed to talk to somebody that had been through some stuff. I needed to talk to somebody. I feel like I couldn't talk to a white woman. I feel like I couldn't talk to anybody outside of my race. I felt like I was not going to spend my money on anything. And initially I was like, I'm not going to go. There's nothing they can do for me. And you're not going to be able to put me on medication because I wasn't going to go on meds. And it took me about maybe 4 or 5 months wrestling in myself to say, you know what? I ended up finding it was 7 times 7, I think it was. But she was spiritual because I knew I needed someone clinical and I needed someone spiritual. They had to be those two. It had to match. They had to be spiritual and clinical in order to help me. I knew what I needed. I just needed to find a person that I could like release that to. And I was able to find a therapist that was clinical and spiritual. She was a white lady, and I love her till today. Like we still, converse. And she did help me. She opened up my eyes to see a lot of things. She actually I was able to see things in a different spectrum instead of just looking at it about just culture or just looking at it because it was X, Y, and Z. So I was able to look at it differently. I think when you are in search of a therapist, it is important to not only just Google, but you may want to have a consultation to go sit down and have a conversation with them. And you can tell if that person, if you think they'll be able to assist you or not, because you want that therapist you want it to be able to be satisfied. You want to be able to say, okay, this is really helping me versus keep going and it's not. Mental illness is real. So if you got a whole lot going on, like I did, then I absolutely would recommend going to talk to somebody.
Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that even helps. That helps a lot of us out there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we will conclude this on the other side, right here on Clay's Couch with our special guest, Charlotta Denise here.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to Clay's Couch here. This is your host, Clay D, the one and only, coming at you the best way I know how. And I'm concluding our chat this evening with the wonderful Miss Charlotta Denise. Thank you for the good conversation this evening. I appreciate it a whole lot.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much for having me.
Definitely, definitely. And yeah, we were just talking about before the break about how you highly recommend therapy and how it really has made a difference for you in your life for sure. Because before, just for those who might even be joining in now, you were saying that you would go from 0 to 60 or 0 to life in prison.
0 to life in prison.
0 to life in prison. And you just felt that there was a sense that people were always coming for you, and that you always just felt that you were in a state where it was you or maybe you and your kids against the world, and that you didn't really fool with too many people. So I definitely do. I definitely do thank you for sharing that. And are there any aspects of that covered in your books as well for folks who want to maybe read more into those specifics?
Yeah, I talk about both of them. I talk about it more in my first book, No Makeup,
Hmm.
Unveiling the Woman Behind the Mask. I do talk a lot about how vicious and angry I was as a little girl growing up. I talk about, I stayed in trouble. I stayed suspended all the time. I was always in fights. I love, if I wasn't running, I love to run. I was either running or fighting. I love to fight. Um, I don't know. I would, my safe place was my grandmother's house. So I talk about, she was about the only one, her and my mom was about the only one that could really calm me down once I got angry. Um, didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know how to express like while I'm hurting, because you don't know what I just went through when I got to school, while I'm at school. So mad and so angry. Okay, well, you don't know what I just experienced this morning before I got on the bus, or what I just saw, what happened in my home before I got here. So there was always a reason why I was so angry. I wasn't just walking around here mad. I might have been mad because I was the names that I had got called, or then the list goes on, but I do talk about both of those, mainly in No Makeup, but I'll talk about it as well. As my adult, when I got older, I was still angry. I was still bitter. I was still broken. So it just led from childhood on to my adulthood. Like I'm 35. And so I'm just now learning how to, okay, Charlotte, everybody's not after you, sis, calm down. Let me think before I speak, because I used to just let it just roll off.
Yeah.
But I think now before I speak, I'm very more wise in what I say. I used to just say stuff and
Yeah.
it would cut you and I would leave you for bleeding, but I didn't know I cut you. I was just expressing, I was just speaking how I felt, or, if you hurt me, I was going to let you know that you hurt me. And my number one goal is to get you back. So I talk about that in both of those books.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Now for sure. Now, did you also even just feel like did you feel territorial, especially when it came to your kids or
I'm very
even
territorial. I will always be that forever and always. I'm very over what's mine, and it's got to be protected. Yeah, I'm very territorial.
yeah.
Right. When it comes to my kids, oh God, yeah. But when I was my family, yeah, very, very territorial.
Got it. Now, for any of your books, have you ever received any backlash from anyone in your family or anyone that you may have been friends with or dealt with? And if you did receive that, what was that experience like? If you did receive any type of backlash or so?
Yes. So with No Makeup, Unveiling the Woman Behind the Mask, I lost my entire family.
Mm.
My mom was angry. My dad, we didn't have a good relationship anyway. So it didn't get any better. We don't really, talk. Nobody talks about the book. My family is as if the book was a lie. Um, that's just like telling a girl that comes out and shared that she has been abused or she's been sexually assaulted, and you tell her that no, she didn't. That's how I felt with my book. I was, I was very broken once the book came out. I couldn't have fun. I couldn't share it. I'm like, I just became an author. Through all of this that I have gone through, I was able to release my book, and I can't even enjoy it. You know, I will do interviews, and one of my aunts or one of my uncles would call my mom as if I was on talking bad about them or whatever. So me and my mom, my relationship is not really it's not how it
Yeah.
used to be anymore. She was very hurt, but I never meant to hurt anybody. I was just sharing my story. I was expressing how, what I went through. What I went through is what I went through. My story is still my story. I still stand behind it,
Yeah.
but
It's your
I
truth.
don't even think they have a copy of the book anymore. Um, it's not, I don't even really feel like an author, to read these things. People say these things like she's a this, she does that, she has this, like she's doing so good. But in the eyes of like my family, it's just Charlotta, you know what I'm saying? So it's yeah, I got a lot of backlash. It still hurts when I think about it, it hurts very bad. Cause you always want to make your family proud. You want your mom or your dad
Absolutely.
to be very excited for you or with you, and that wasn't the case. I was alone. They didn't even come to my book signing,
Ooh.
so it was just because they was hurt for whatever, for whatever reason. They really didn't get a chance to read the book. My uncle, one of my dad's brothers, he had he got the book through ebook, where you could just download it and read it. I think he read it in one setting. Everybody that has read my books have read my books in one setting. A lot of times, the main ones be your family, and a lot of them that got my book, they got it to see what was in the book, to see what part they played in it. It was never to, they missed the whole message of the book. So then they went, and before my parents could read the book, they were already on the fence of, she's talking about us in this book, so I didn't really get to enjoy the moment. And even still now, when I do shows or I have to do a conference, I have to do something, majority of the time it's just me, or it's just me and my children. I could be like, Ma, I gotta speak somewhere, but it's just not there, it's just not there.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear all that there. When you were writing the book, was there any part of you that was contemplating, well, maybe I won't say it's, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings or this family member's feelings, or you think, you know what, I'm just gonna go all out, whatever comes from it comes from it. Well, how was
Yeah.
striking that balance, if you even had that
I'm
conflict in your mind at all?
Of course I did, but I don't think you can live, if you live your life based on who feelings you're gonna hurt, you're gonna always live a life of, oh, I better not say that. I'm gonna be free, and I'm gonna get free. And if that's gonna affect you, then I'm sorry. But if the Lord told me to do something, I'm gonna do it. I knew that it was in goodwill. I didn't never, it wasn't out of malice or what can I do. I didn't wake up one morning like, what can I do to destroy my parents or to just
Yeah.
destroy my mom or to hurt my dad? Whatever that looked like, that was never the case. The book is very heavy. No Makeup is a very heavy book. I share from things that I saw as a little girl, what molded me into, I believe I talk about, as little girls, your fathers are supposed to be your first boyfriends. They're supposed to be your first everything. They're supposed to show you and teach you who you are, and show you how a man is supposed to treat you by how they treat their mom. As little boys, you learn love, and you learn all of that through you learn that, and you learn all of that through your mom. My mom, she taught me, she was supposed to teach me how to be a woman. You learn womanhood through your mom. Love, you learn that through your father. That's just how that goes. But if you don't get that, or you are in a single parent home and you just got one person just showing you or teaching you, you're going to miss it. And I missed that because I didn't have, either one, or even or either or. So I missed it. And I talked about that.
Wow. That's certainly, that's something for sure. I mean, I can even tell you some stuff either offline or when we meet again and chat again. But yeah, this is definitely very moving for sure. Did you ever feel as though that when you were writing any of these books that you were in some form or fashion writing letters to those who you felt as though were hurt by, or just writing letters to someone who you just wanted to express yourself to in some form or fashion?
I'm having a hard time hearing you. I didn't hear that last part. What was the last thing you said?
Right. So I was asking that was there any part of any of your writings felt as though that you were writing letters to those who you felt hurt you, or you were writing in some form or fashion a letter to someone you just wanted to express it all to? Did it have that type of feeling or effect during the writings of any of these books?
I believe when I was writing, I was just writing different sequences that had happened in my life that affected me. You know, it wasn't about like what could I say. Let me write this and so my mama know that this bothered me, or let me say this so my dad will know that this affected me, or my sister did this. Like it wasn't never that. Really was just writing. When I sent it over to the publication team, they immediately, oh my God, let's get this published. So, you read it in one setting. You don't want to put the book down, but it's a lot that our families that our culture don't talk about. It was those things.
Right.
I shared about that. The things that my eyes seen, they should not have seen. A lot of things that my ears heard, they should not have heard. Your first love is supposed to come from your father, and if you don't get that, then you don't really know what love is. And I didn't know I didn't know how to love people. I didn't know how to like people. I didn't know what forgiveness looked like. I didn't know what unforgiveness looked like. I just saw a lot of people that looked like, they played church. And so I didn't understand God. It made it difficult to how to trust God. I can't even trust my own, so I struggled through life because I just did not know. It wasn't about how can I, or you should. I did not know. And so it affected me in life because of the unknown. And I just knew that there had to be a better life than this right here. So I had to choose differently. I had to make different steps, go different avenues, because I really wanted to know who God was in real life. I still want to know, I know I may not never have that father-daughter relationship or that mother-daughter relationship, but that doesn't mean that my girls can't, so I love on them. I'm 35 years old. I've never heard my dad say that he loved me at 35, so, or proud of you or any of that. So I make sure that I instill that in my children, so they know what it feels like. I make sure that my boys know. And I watch how they treat me now, and it's just amazing. Like, I'm like, God, go ahead, and I teach them what I know. I do my research as far as like the boys, because their father is inactive, but I don't want them to have to go through half the stuff that I went through. And my kids are the coolest kids on the block. I love them. I watch. They're so fun. They make me better. They have taught me what love was. I didn't know what love was until I started having children. They showed me how to love by loving them. So everything that I missed in my childhood, in my adulthood, I was able to regain through raising my children.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I guess that kind of goes to my second to last question. How do you want your seven kids individually or collectively to view you? To take from you, and what type of legacy do you or would you like to leave for them?
I think that my children, by watching me, they'll understand that it's okay as a woman that we don't have to always be so strong. I think we always walk around here like incredible hope that we don't know that you don't have to always be so strong. Everybody is not out to get you. So they watch me, everything I have to do, whether I'm feeding the homeless, whether I am speaking at somewhere, whatever I do, I take them with me and I teach them how to serve. I think any leader, they have to first know how to serve. So I make sure that they serve with me. They give out holidays, Christmas, whatever, so they're able to learn how to serve in their community. So I watch them.
Wow.
That was my mom, but
That's okay.
So I teach them how to serve in the community, and I teach them how to I want them to see that just because trials and tribulations come, you don't stop living. You still have to live, and you still have, if that didn't work, then you have to create another option, and you create the life that you want for you. I don't want my girls to think, oh God, you don't need a man. No, I'm not. I don't want them to think, I don't want them to think that, or my boys that it's okay to beat on women or put your hands on a female. No, I watch how they are with their brothers and with their sisters, and it's never okay. But I want my boys to know how to be men of integrity. So I just have I have to teach them. You lead by example, and I think sometimes we always want to tell our kids. You can't tell them. You got to show them. This generation of kids, you can't just tell them anything. You have to show them how to live, show them how to pray, the importance of prayer. So when I'm not here and things are going wrong or things are going right, they still know who to worship. They still know who their provider is. They still know where their help comes from. I take my kids to church. We go to church every Sunday. We are very faith. We love the Lord with all our hearts, and they serve in church. They serve in our community, and everything that I'm building now, I'm leaving for them. So they won't, like I said, they won't have to get it out the mud. I don't really care for them to work for nobody. They can work for me and work under my organization, and they just continue leading it on and passing it on. It's a goal that I would like set. Even in the Bible, it talks about that you are supposed to leave, you're supposed to leave a legacy. You're supposed to leave, you're supposed to inherit. Your kids are supposed to inherit something. So what are your kids inheriting? You don't want them to leave just nothing. So many people just leave and they just leave their kids with nothing. Everything that I'm building and trying to build is for the upkeep of my family when I'm not here.
Wow, that's amazing for sure. And do you think that any of the books can apply to men as well? Just in general.
Yeah, both of I've had a lot of males that got my book, and they support me. But yeah, I'm especially no makeup more per se, because it's just a life. It's about life. So yeah, I have had a lot of males to support my books, and I'll get emails. I've gotten so many emails from different men in different cultures, different countries that have that share their story about what they went through with their family and how they're trying to the importance of forgiveness, of getting back in forgiveness because of how I had to forgive and all of that. So yeah, I think both of the books would be good for a male to read, but definitely definitely for no makeup.
Gotcha. And then, do you think you can find love again? Do you think that's something that you think can happen or will happen?
Permission to pursue. I have a lot of friends. I'll get dressed up real quick and go out on a dinner date. But the stuff that I have been through, love is love. Love is still beautiful, and I believe that whenever the Lord is ready to send me someone, He will. I will definitely get married again. If that's what your question, I will walk right down the aisle with a white dress like I ain't never been married before, and be happy. I love love. I love out loud. I love to love big. Even though my marriage was like it was, I enjoyed being a wife. I enjoyed my family. I hated it was as toxic and bad, but I enjoyed it. Yes, I would definitely get married again. I don't want to be single. Like that is not goal, but
Right. Hey, I hear you there for sure. Now, anyway, well, thank you for joining us tonight, Charlotta. That's all the time that we have. It was certainly worth every minute. Just tell folks how they can follow you and your businesses, your website, social media, and how they could get a hold of any of your books.
absolutely. You can go on my website. My website is officialcovermysisters.com. You can always find me on Facebook. Oh, there she go. Hey, girl. You can also find me on Facebook, which is Charlotta Denise. On Instagram, it is Cover My Sisters.
Okay. And where can they find your books if they want to purchase one?
Yes, so my book is on the website. It is on my website, officialcovermysisters.com. It's also on Amazon. Both of them are on Amazon, or you can, if you wanted a signed copy, of course, you can just reach out to me and order it through me, and I'll sign it and mail it off to you.
Wonderful. Well, that does it here for this evening. Thank you again for joining us, Miss Charlotta. We appreciate you having you here on the virtual couch, and we look forward to staying in touch with you. We look forward
Absolutely. Thank you
to
again so much for having me.
definitely. We look forward to following you on your journey. We wish you all the best as you relocate to Texas in the second half of this year, and
Thank you.
we're
Thank
confident
you.
you're just going to keep on soaring and ascending. But
Absolutely.
that
Thank
would
you. God
do it
bless
here.
you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. But that will do it here for tonight on Clay's Couch. You can catch us here next Thursday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time.